spooky season has begun at the Retro Video Store.
Welcome to the Retro Video Store podcast. My name is Eric.
Ooh. Let's go, Eric.
That's my co-host Neil.
I'm Neil, and who lucked out by there being a huge hot fire and didn't have to talk about this a piece of shit movie.
That would be David. You don't want to hear us talk like that the entire podcast. No, David got called away last minute. He had even enjoyed this movie, and then he got called away last minute to go to a fire.
Okay, so here's obviously there were some chemicals in the trees. Something has happened, and David inhaled some of that smoke, and it messed up his head. And he enjoyed this, and literally got called away last minute. Like, we are sitting here, maybe 10 minutes from cranking into the podcast, and we're exchanging texts and stuff about how he just called back on some like 139 acre fire that's just getting ready to start up.
Yeah.
Kind of small for what he deals with, but I mean, it's starting.
Yeah. So be careful out there, David. Hope to see you again next week when we continue our tour of Italy.
Fuck.
I think you'll like the next movie better because it's a lot more gorier and just plain more violent. Today, we're talking about the classic Italian giallo movie.
So now I've got to do. Why is it doing a goddamn thumbs up?
Because you did a thumbs up.
Did I do a thumb? No, man, I'm scratching.
Yeah, do a thumbs up to make a thumbs up.
I'm scratching my eyebrow. See, it's not weird. Doing it. Not doing it now. Now, see, I was going to say something. I got distracted by that. Okay. Oh, I'm going to quote another movie when you call this a classic. I want to quote another movie, and I would like to quote Inigo Montoya. You keep using that word, but I don't think you understand what it means.
This movie has a large cult following and is considered
so did Heaven's Gate. So did Heaven's Gate, Eric, and where did that get them?
First of all,
no nuts and dead.
We're going to talk about Dario Argento's 1975 movie Deep Red, also known as Profondo Rosso in Italy, but also re-released in America as The Hatchet Murders in 1980. It just re-edited and released again as The Hatchet Murders. This movie, depending on your mindset, is either amazing or awful. And my main mindset is I think this is really, really enjoyable. I will preface this saying that I don't think Dario Argento is a genius. I think that I even have a book called Broken Mirrors, Broken Minds, Dark Dreams of Dario Argento. And it is a very academic book, analyzing all of his movies in a very, very, very detailed and academic and frankly hilarious way, because I think Dario Argento is not that intelligent enough in these movies. I think he just wants to see people get killed in weird ways and have people act nonsensically and just have cool looking shit happen. And all these people are like, oh yes, he's so he harkens back to the doppelganger, the duality of man. Like Carlo is one person and Mark is a different. They're the different sides of the same coin of the duality. It's like, I don't think he thought that much into it. So I'm not one of those academic Argento fans. I just like to see weird Italian horror movies. So I will not defend him on those merits. I'll defend him on this is a fun movie to watch.
So I have an alternate title that I found online for this movie. In Italian, it's Noioso da Morire. Mm-hmm. Boring as fuck.
Boring as fuck. This movie is kind of boring compared to the standards of pacing of modern movies.
And in 1975, had we invented crack yet?
No. Crack was an 80s thing.
Which makes me wonder who and what were they on when they did the soundtrack for this movie?
That was the famous Claudio Simonetti fronted group called Goblin, who has done a bunch of horror movie scores like this one and Suspiria and Dawn of the Dead and Zombie 2. And they've done a lot of and I have them on vinyl. I have this soundtrack on vinyl. I have the Suspiria soundtrack on vinyl.
Depressed me when you're like, oh, I'm going to listen to this. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things does not belong.
Wait. We're jumping way ahead. Let's do what we always do first.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Neil, what did you watch this week?
Dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I watched. So God dang, just watched TV. We watched a lot of series, a lot of late nights. So we didn't really watch any films. My wife put something on last night, but I really was not interested in it. So I just kind of hung out and did my own thing. Started a couple different series, started an animated series from the guys who did Avatar. It's like something of Erebos or some shit like that. Started that. That was kind of interesting. Mayfair Witches. Started watching that just because of the lead actress.
Alexandria Daddario.
Yeah. I recognize her. I've seen her boobs. So yes. I tuned into that.
Probably one of the most epic scenes of all time in True Detective. She leaves a very, very memorable impression. In fact, there's even a subreddit dedicated to that scene in True Detective where Alexandria Daddario got naked. So
I watched True Detective. I really liked the one with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey. The second one I wasn't so crazy about. The one with Colin Farrell, I think it was. Yeah. And there's a third one that I have not watched yet.
The new one is supposed to be really good. I think it has Jodie Foster in it, I think. True Detective. Maybe that's season 4. I think there's 3 or 4 seasons. I don't know. I only saw the first season, which I thought was really, really good. But you know me in episodic television, I just haven't really found any series that maybe Reservation Dogs is probably the only one that I'm like, I want to keep watching that. So,
yeah, I'd thought about watching Reservation Dogs. I've heard things about it. It's one of those things that's on my queue. So yeah, man, I was just getting home so late this whole week. And then this last weekend, I got sick. Friday night I was sleeping. I just woke up and I'm like, I feel weird. And I just ralphed all over the bed.
Ugh.
Yeah. Just out of nowhere. I mean, normally throwing up is like a very like taxing thing.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh my God, I just opened my mouth and just went, blah.
Wow.
And then I just was like super acidic and
like a 4-year-old, like,
yeah,
Mom, I don't feel so good.
It just flowed right out.
Wow.
And then I felt super acidic. So I ate some, antacids and I propped myself up and I slept on the couch and my wife comes out and she goes, are you okay? Like I'm freezing cold. I'm sweating. My whole body hurts. And I just threw up all over the bed and I was too freaking tired to clean it up. So there we go. So it really took out Friday, Saturday, and most of Sunday. And then the week, just all super late. Did you whittle out any time to watch anything?
Not really. I watched more of Shudder's greatest horror movie moments, and this one was all dedicated to Japanese horror, which made me want to see some more movies that I have not seen that they recommended. So that's a really good show to kind of get recommendations for other shows. I have never seen Pulse, which I've heard is really, really good. And I've seen quite a few of it. Like they talked about Tetsuo the Iron Man, which is really bizarre, black and white, kind of almost experimental thing where the guy just gets consumed by metal. That's one of the first really weird Japanese movies I remember watching as a young film nerd trying to find other movies to watch. And other than that, I watched a lot of football, but I didn't really watch any movies that I watched like the end of a couple of movies, like, you know, when you turn on the movie, the TV, and watch the end of Coming to America like 2 times on Showtime as I laid there and napped, and which is still amazing. Oh, speaking of Coming to America, we cannot let this pass by. Rest in peace.
Oh,
James Earl Jones.
Oh, man, the voice of our childhood. So many epic characters. I watched online the majority of a play he did with, I think the guy's last name is Vance. I wish I could think of it. And I'd seen the movie Redone where Denzel Washington plays it, but everything's just escaping my mind, and it's got nothing to do with what I have in this glass right here. But you know, he's like, "Why don't you like me?" And he's like, "I don't have to like you, boy." And I put food on your plate, and I put clothes on your back. I cannot remember the name of it though. And it was just I cruised through and watched a lot of his Broadway stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you just get caught up very, very easily, of course, in the legend of Darth Vader, and then Conan the Barbarian, and then just forget what a stellar Broadway actor the man was.
Yeah, he's did so many plays. I mean, even have a theater named after him because of all the work that he did. I really liked Arnold Schwarzenegger's social media post about
Yes.
James Earl Jones, about how he helped him out as a young actor and read lines with him and showed him a kindness and generosity that he didn't have to, and helped him like be a mentor. So that's pretty damn cool. And it makes you realize, man, the guy was the voice of just everything. Like you said, Darth Vader, and of course Thulsa Doom, Mufasa. He did a lot of voiceover in the first couple of seasons of The Simpsons, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
he did the Raven on the first Treehouse of Horror. He did that. He read the whole entire Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. That's really memorable. And yeah, he was an amazing actor. By all accounts, an amazing guy. And yeah,
Mark Hamill's tribute was the best. I really liked it. Just R.I.P. Dad.
Yeah, really good stuff. But man,
yeah, I had no idea, because to me, I'm not a young guy anymore, but that was a voice from my childhood. So when I hear that, I hear like, oh, well, my head, like, I'm 12, 10. He can't possibly be that old in his 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
Yeah, he had a long run, but still,
even
when you hear that, even when somebody's up there in age, and then you hear that they die, you're still affected by it, because that voice, that presence, that just always being there and being so good, and even in small roles, and of course as King Joffrey Joffer in Coming to America. And
do you have sex with your bathing girls? I do.
Yes, he was really great in that.
When I was going through and watching stuff, a scene came up, The Big Bang Theory, where one of the nerds comes up to him and he just can't speak because he's in shock. He's like, "Let me guess, you like Star Wars?" And he just like nods. He goes, "I do too." And then they go do a bunch of Star Wars nerd shit just to see him buy into. Yeah, so cool.
And it was cool to see him not take himself so seriously. He would go on Letterman and do top 10s and other things where he was just, the opposite of that kind of austere personality you think that he would have. He's just down to earth. And they did, I watched like a replay of like a CBS Sunday Morning thing about him. And what was astounding to me is that he had such a bad stutter as a child that he didn't speak for like 6 years. Or he didn't speak for an extended period of time. And his teacher found out that he wrote poetry and said, well, if you write poetry, you got to speak it. You got to speak your poetry. And then that's what got him out of his shell. And it just really cool stories about him. And yeah, what a loss. But
Fences. I looked it up. Fences is the name. And if you can find, there's huge clips of it online. Really, really cool play. Just literally almost no scenery, a few props, and just two actors just like pouring out human emotion. So freaking cool.
But yeah, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. You really affected all of us in a positive way. So yeah, cheers. Neil's got a alcoholic beverage. I got some Diet Coke, but I'll still raise him a glass.
It's been a long day. This is
to James Earl Jones. And this movie also may have driven you to drink.
Yeah. Maybe if I'd have done that, if I'd have had something to drink when I watched it, it would have made it, I don't know, palatable.
So before we talk about the movie proper, I will tell you about 10 years ago, I really got into Italian horror movies. I mean, I started watching pretty much everything because, you get kind of sick of like watching American horror movies. And I had this book, it's the Video Hound Guide to Horror. And they had a little subsection about Italian horror movies. So I was like, okay, I'll watch some of them. And I think the first time I was aware of Dario Argento is when I started seeing Dawn of the Dead again. It was on IFC one night, and I had really never seen it for real until maybe 10, 15 years ago. Then I watched it and I'm like, holy shit, this movie is freaking amazing. And I saw that it was produced by Dario Argento. And I'm like, Dario Argento. I think I saw his name in the Video Hound Book of Horror. And I started reading about him a little bit and that he was a famous director and very influential. So I started watching some movies. And the first movie I saw was Suspiria of his, which we've done an episode on. And I know you didn't care for it that much, but I was blown away. I was like, holy shit, this is crazy, because it's just so, it makes no sense, but I like the fact that it doesn't make any sense. It's just a vibe that comes off of his movies.
Yeah, I should have filled this glass more full.
So when you watch Suspiria, then you're like, I want to watch another Dario Argento movie. And the one that you always should be watching next is Deep Red, because it's his second most famous movie. And I saw Deep Red a long time ago. I even have an old Anchor Bay original DVD of Deep Red. And that kind of really got me into watching a lot of Italian horror movies. And I started watching Lucio Fulci's Zombie and Zombie 3. Then I started watching Umberto Lenzi and then Mario Bava, and just got really kind of just jumped into Italian horror movies. So I'm an Italian horror movie fan. Probably someone would say an apologist, but by no means will I defend its artistic credibility.
Oh man, I can't imagine. Like, I was right near the hot poker factory on my motorcycle, and a car hit me, and I flew off, and I landed ass first onto a hot poker, and I got peeled off, and I went to the doctor, and I went, you know what? I'm going to try that a second time, just to make sure the first time wasn't unpleasant. And that's what I feel like going from Suspiria to this. Now, I've been eating a lot of spicy food before my weekend fest, so maybe that was it. But I really, it's like, all right, Eric really digs these movies. I've got to give these a chance. I gotta watch them. But just even the fucking sound in the movie, the sound, the weird ass people, the shitball acting, the fact that you know what? It doesn't have to be dead silent. They're in a city. It's not dead silent, but I got to hear his weird ass 1970s shoes go for like 5 minutes. What the fuck, Dario?
So, going back to Dario Argento, his father was very influential in the Italian film industry. And one thing about Italian films is if one is successful, a wave of imitators will come out. Like when spaghetti westerns became popular, and Sergio Leone's Man with No Name trilogy, then it was just flooded with some really good, some really bad ones. Some of them are good, like Django, where Franco Nero's dragging a gigantic coffin with a machine gun around these little towns and shooting people up. And then there's, of course, Once Upon a Time in the West, which is also another Leone movie. Well, Dario Argento was a script writer in some of these movies, so he got his start in the Italian film industry. I think he helped write Once Upon a Time in the West. If you go back to his filmography, he was the writer of Once Upon a Time in the West, The Battle of the Commandos, and then he got his start with his first giallo movie. And giallo is a genre of crime thriller that was originally published by this one publishing house, and they were printed on paperbacks with yellow covers. Yeah, so giallo means yellow. So it became a subgenre of movies and books, because they were all kind of pot-boiling kind of crime thrillers. The original giallo movie is The Girl Who Knew Too Much, which is directed by Mario Bava, but then he did a movie called Blood and Black Lace, which is really, really good. And in fact, I bet you would, if you watch Blood and Black Lace, you would probably like it better than anything Dario Argento did because it makes a little bit more sense. It's about these girls in this fashion house in Italy who are getting killed one by one. It's got really good coloring, and the girls are really hot in the early 1960s way. And the killer is your basic giallo killer with the black gloves with the zippers on it.
Point of view.
Yeah, well, some point of view, not as much as this movie, but it is more of a murder mystery in Blood and Black Lace. But in 1970, Dario Argento did the first of his animal trilogy. The first one called The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, which I have seen, which is really, really good. It's actually probably more of a linear detective story where the guy hears a sound on a recording. It's almost kind of like the movie Blowout with John Travolta and Nancy Allen, with Brian De Palma did, and where he has to figure out what this sound is, and it turns out to be this one specific type of bird in the zoo, and that's where the killer is. And it's got some stylistic killer. Too much probably first person killer for you. And then he did a movie called Cat O' Nine Tails, which is similar giallo movie. Then Four Flies on Grey Velvet, which is his third giallo movie. Am I nerding out too much? Is this just too much of a long? He took a break from making giallo movies and did like a historical comedy, which bombed. So he went back to the giallo pool and did Deep Red in 1975, which really put him on the map. And you want to read the Internet Movie Database tagline?
A jazz pianist and wisecracking journalist are pulled into the complex web of a complex web. Yeah. Into a complex web of mystery after the former witnesses the brutal murder of a psychic.
Mm-hmm. Who can't drink water, the psychic.
No. That's how the vomit was coming out of me on Friday.
When she spit the water out. You will kill and kill again. Written by Dario Argento and Bernardino Zapponi. Bernardino Zapponi also helped write some of Fellini movies. Like
that is my favorite part of a hockey game. When the Zapponi comes out and it smooths the ice back all out. I love the Zapponi. And then they put the cam down on the people and you can do your little dance, maybe get on the cam, some shit like that. Yeah, I love that.
And going back to the music, which I think is really cool, very hippie, dippy prog rock from the 70s. I have this album on Waxwork Records, red vinyl.
There's so much we agree on, but musically, there is so much I disagree with you so hardcore on. And I will say this because I put together I had a chance to generate a playlist and it's like, okay, cool. What do you want on there? I'm like, okay, boom, hit me some Ghost. Give me the most top played Ghost songs. Like Eric loves Ghost. And gotta say, I cursed your name a little bit, just like I did when I was watching this movie. What is the
top played one? Is it Mariana Cross?
So there was one of them, and there were others, and it was just like, oh, good Lord.
Listen to the best Ghost song is, I would say, Stand By Him, because it's all about the devil. It's the first song that came up. That's kind of more rockin' one. There's one called Zenith, which is my favorite all-time Ghost song because it's very good. And then there's quite a few Ghost songs. I didn't like the new album as much because it sounds a little bit like Def Leppard to me. Like they went to too much of an 80s rock kind of vibe.
Dead Leopard.
So, yeah. But special effects were by Carlo Rambaldi. Extremely famous special effects wizard. Didn't really get much to do with it except for some really bright red blood.
Yeah, geez, it was.
But he designed the animatronics on King Kong from 1976. Rick Baker did the costume, but Carlo Rambaldi did the design and engineering. He did Close Encounters of the Third Kind, the little tiny gray ETs that come around. He did the head effects on the Alien. Of course, H.R. Geiger did the design. He did a little movie called E.T. the Extraterrestrial. He created E.T. And then he did Conan the Destroyer and Dune. He did the creature creator in the original Dune with David Lynch. and he did Cat's Eye, and I always love him for Cat's Eye for the little gremlin that that steals people's breath, and he's got the little hat with the little bells on it, and the cat kills him and stuff. Yeah, and Silver Bullet by Stephen King. So he's got some pretty good stuff. He died in 2012 at age 86. But Carlo Rambaldi. So this is talk a little bit of Dario Argento, and I love giallo movie titles. They come up with some of the greatest titles of movies. They're hilarious to me. They have some of the funniest kind of. Of course, we go back to The Girl Who Knew Too Much, Blood and Black Lace, The Embalmer, Libido, The Murder Clinic, The Murder with the Silk Scarf. They're actually really kind of descriptive about it. Deadly Sweet, The Sweet Body of Deborah, Death Laden Egg. This is just the 60s here. Black Veil for Lisa. Interrobang. What the hell is that? That's like something you'd find in the back of a video store.
Yeah, that's behind the beaded curtain.
Interrobang. Carnal Circuit. The House That Screamed. Death Knocks Twice. Orgasmo.
Okay.
Which was...
Orgasmo is a fantastic movie by Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Yeah, the newer Orgasmo is hilarious.
Yes.
I think you sound a little bit like Depeche Mode. Right?
I don't mean to sound gay or nothing, but Geddy Lee's the best bass player ever.
Geddy Lee, Rush. So, death occurred last night. A suitcase for a corpse. Your hands on my body. Forbidden photos of a lady above suspicion. That's a little bit of a long one. The man with icy eyes. A lizard in a woman's skin. The strange vice of Mrs. Ward. The black belly of tarantula. The bloodstained butterfly. That's pretty good. Yeah, just a Slaughter Hotel. Yeah, I love these. I love these titles. The Case of the Bloody Iris.
I am sure everybody listening is fucking fascinated.
The Redheaded Corpse. How do you deal with a mad redhead?
How?
Gingerly.
I see what you did.
Right, I'll say one more. I will say one more.
God damn it! I got one too. A guy walks in with a steering wheel around his waist into a bar, and the bartender goes, "What's that about?" He goes, "I don't know, but it's driving me nuts."
Yeah, I've heard that one where the guy's got a little, like the thing on the ship, the steering wheel on the ship above his belt. It's driving me nuts. Your vice is a locked room, and only I have the key. That's another one. That's the last one I'll say. There's a bunch of cool giallo titles.
That sounds like shitty, sensitive ponytail Starbucks guy. Well, no, not Starbucks. Independent coffee house guy poetry.
Strip nude for your killer. All right, one more. All right, so let's get back with Deep Red. Released March 7th of 1975. Made a lot of money in Italy. There's really not much. It made like $600,000 in the U.S. on its first release, but slowly gained a cult following over the years. David Hemmings is Marcus Daly, our pianist / music teacher / guy with a lot of free times on his hand to try to solve a murder. And Daria Nicolodi is Gianna Briesi, the annoying reporter that follows him around and puts him in danger by putting his photo in the newspaper. She was Dario Argento's life partner for a long time and helped him come up with ideas for Suspiria and other movies. She was like his muse for a while. And she's the mother of Asia Argento, who was an actress.
I hate her even more.
So that's all the names that we will probably recognize. Everybody else is, probably not very famous in the United States.
What about Jacopo Mariani? No one remembers him?
Giuliana Calandra.
Eros Pagni. As a Calabrini.
I had the Enzo Calabrini yesterday. Al dente. All right. You want to hit this? I've been dying for you to read the critical consensus because it's funny. Some stuff you'll agree with, other stuff you'll roll your eyes at. So
Well, it's good because in a purely auditory format, my eye rolls will go highly underappreciated. Only you will get to appreciate the eye rolls. All right. This hunk of shit holds a 93% approval rating on review aggregation website Rotten Tomatoes, based on 29 reviews with an average rating of 8.1 of 10. The site's consensus reads, the kinetic camera work and brutal over-the-top gore that made Dario Argento famous is on full display. But the addition of a compelling, complex story makes it... What the fuck? Did they not watch this movie? Makes Deep Red a masterpiece. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 89, which is about 82 high, out of 100 based on 7 critic reviews. Well, it's only 7 critic reviews, indicating universal acclaim. That being said, the 7 critics that this was showed to were also known idiots. One correct review upon the film's original American release came from Vincent Canby of the New York Times, who referred to the film as a bucket of axe murder cliches and called Dario Argento a director of incomparable incompetence. Fuck yes, Vincent Canby. Preach. I just got to put my hands up in the air. I just want to praise Vincent Canby. From retrospective reviews, Kim Newman wrote in the Monthly Film Bulletin that Deep Red was a transitional work for Argento between his earlier horrible movies and the more supernatural horrible movies that he was doing. Newman concluded that Deep Red is nothing if not an elaborate piece of shit mechanism with the camera crawling along object and what sets Argento apart from imitators like Lucio Fulci is his combination of genuine pain caused by the people trying to watch his movie. And the murders are as nasty as one could wish, but the camera flinches where Fulci's would linger. And
I think that's why some people enjoy Lucio Fulci more. It's like if somebody's eye is about to get stabbed with a piece of wood in a Lucio Fulci movie, he doesn't turn away. That piece of wood goes straight through the through the eye.
And it's got self-mocking humor, which begins when it refers to itself as a movie. Total Film gave the film 4 stars out of 5, proving once again that Total Film knows jack shit, noting that Argento's films can be an acquired taste if one eats ass. It's necessary to attune yourself with the horror director's style in order to get the most from his movies, or have enough self-respect to just disregard this film entirely. The review I'm adding my own.
I think you're embellishing a little bit. Yes,
I am. The review stated that the film presents some striking visual compositions that raise it above the level of the usual subgenre offerings. And the film was a great introduction to Dario Argento's evolving style of horror. Let it be also known that this person was kicked out of art school for sucking ass. The AV Club wrote, operating under the principle that a moving camera is always better than a static one and not above throwing in a terrifyingly evil doll, Deep Red showcases the technical bravado and loopy shock tactics that made Argento famous. AllMovie compared the film to other Argento works, noting that the film script was significantly stronger and the actors much better, which is very sad. Very, very sad. AllMovie noted that each of the murders is perfectly choreographed, with particular praise going to Guaccio Mori's killing. All right. And that the final reel wraps the film up in a thrilling manner and features 2 extremely graphic deaths that would leave the viewer stunned as the credits roll. The only thing I was stunned by was that I made it through this movie. I had to do it in 3 separate sittings. Quentin Tarantino described being rattled by the movie as a teenager. It'll also be noted that Quentin was high as balls when he watched it and picked it as one of his favorite horror movies because Quentin knows jack shit about horror films. 2 key sequences in this film influenced directors of later horror movies. The lead up to the famous exploding head scene, David Cronenberg's Scanners, is modeled after the parapsychology discussion at the beginning of Deep Red, and Rick Rosenthal's Halloween 2 contains a scalding water death inspired by the death of Giuliana Calandra's character Amanda Rigetti. Of course, his hands, even in the leather gloves, don't feel any heat whatsoever.
Yeah,
just
I thought that
him or
too.
mom or whoever. Director James Wan has cited the works of Dario Argento as an influence for the Saw horror series and Billy the Puppet. the avatar of the series' villains, is visually similar to the mechanical doll that manages Giordani in Deep Red. That was the only fucking part of this movie I liked. When that weird-ass mechanical doll came at him, and you could kind of see the person back behind it, that was kind of interesting. But I'm like, okay, oh, now we've stepped it up. Now something's going to happen. And nothing.
You didn't like the guy getting his teeth knocked out on the edge of the fireplace.
So goddamn slow. Those cuts were horrible. It was like, cut, touch, 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 touch. You know what? If I'm thinking of somebody's teeth getting kicked out, I'm thinking of American History X and that dude getting curb stomped.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty
especially
brutal.
The sound design on that when it sounds like his teeth are biting
into
concrete.
it. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. That is true, getting your teeth knocked out in a movie. And the next, there's an episode of The Sopranos where he does the same thing to him. Not as good, but you can hear the teeth rattle across the floor as he knocks him out.
So, Neil, put yourself in the mindset of somebody who's only watched American movies up to this point. 1975, this movie comes out, and you watch this movie, and it's not like any American movie you've ever seen, because the movie, up to this point, this is maybe I would say Texas Chainsaw Massacre would be as graphic as this so far.
So I'm thinking that maybe the people in 1975 saw this, right? And seeing what a horrible sack of shit this was coming out of a European country, this is what like started these people who are now distributing horrific amounts of jingoism into our politics, because they're like, we can't let this into our country. We need to stop this.
Are you saying this is are you speaking of the cultural influences of other countries, like in the negative MAGA type of sense?
We need to build a wall around giallo movies is what we need. We need us a wall. We need something to keep these out.
So let's talk about the plot a little bit. It starts out with a murder, Christmas time murder, where a little kid sees somebody getting brutally stabbed in front of him with that la 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 that weird little kind of music that plays with the kid singing, and he sees the kid picks up the knife he's holding and it's bloody, and you're like, okay. Then all of a sudden, you see our protagonist playing jazz with the group, and then they're at this parapsychology seminar. Excuse me. Parapsychology seminar, and we see the lady parapsychologist who feels that there's a murderer among them and that they're going to kill again. And obviously, she's going to be the one killed by the murderer. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before in giallo movies. I want a cool set of black murder gloves.
So I was telling, as this was on, and I told Sammy, like, I really got to work my way through this movie. We got to try to watch this. And as we're watching it, she goes, "What the fuck does he like about these?" I'm like, "Well, he is a fan of the murder gloves." And she looked at it, and she found a pair online. Mm-hmm. She found a pair, and they would be yours had they not cost so damn much.
Oh, really?
They would, but she did find a pair of the murder gloves online. But okay, as far as like, oh, we're at a parapsychology thing. Oh, I can't see the past. I can't see the future. I can't really see the present, but I can tell you what you're thinking. Fucking David Blaine could do that. And he would not have gone out like a bitch. The murder would have come around. He would have said, "All right, before you do this, I want you to write down your first pet's name on this card. Don't let me see it. Don't let me see it. Now I'm going to go hold my breath for 36 days.
I'm going to bury myself in a tomb." Yeah.
And then when I come back, I'm going to be able to show you the card with your pet's name on it. Now I want you to just stay with me. I want you to stay with me. The fucking human quaalude, David Blaine.
Well, I thought she was going to do like a John Edwards, like, so who here has murdered somebody in their family, somebody close to you?
at least like
happened during the holidays.
Shyster ministers on TV that are like overcharging old ladies have way better stage presence than her.
Or the Long Island medium lady, like, who has lost somebody close to them? I want you to let you know that they're doing good. They love you. They're doing, oh my God, just that kind of cold reading stuff is.
Is there anybody here who may have lost a grandfather that had a first name? He had a first name and a last name.
He liked baseball. He enjoyed fishing and all the grandpa stuff. Yeah, cold reading. So I do. I just love this. Okay, you hated this movie, but
I
I'm going to
fucking
tell you
hated it.
all the stuff that I loved about this
Okay,
movie.
hit me.
All right, love the soundtrack. I thought it was fucking cool. It's got the really cool, funky '70s prog rock vibe to it. I love the like when they showed all the killers like stuff on like a black background where he's got like the little doll tied up and he's got like all these little weird little tchotchkes that he keeps memorabilia from his murder. I love the black gloved killer. I love the lady getting hacked. The bright blood and the obvious dummy smashing through through the window when he sees the first murder. I love this, just the weirdness of it. It just people don't act like normal people in these movies. And I think a lot of the weird line delivery, this is a digression from what I liked, is that everybody's speaking Italian when they make the movie. So when they're, everybody's speaking Italian, but then they dub it in post. Even the people speaking Italian, they redub it. So that causes all the weird kind of dubbing issues and voice weirdness and stuff like that. That makes it sound like a kung fu movie from the 70s. So nobody's voices match exactly the way they should, which is either a really bad flaw or a feature, depending on your views of the movie. So I love the colors of the blood, and I like the way the murders happen. I did like, the lady getting hacked and the other one getting drowned, even though, like you said, when she got drowned, it would burned up her hands too, because leather gloves don't really, protect your hands from boiling water. And what I didn't like about it is that the investigation part is so damn slow when Marcus is running around, trying to figure out who the murderer is. And it just, all that stuff they do could be explained in like 2 minutes. It just, they take way too damn long for him wandering around. And then like, hey, this lady who wrote this book may know something about the killer. So the killer kills her by drowning her before he can get there. But she was completely inessential to the plot. And then he goes to the house where supposedly, he finds out by talking to a botanist about these certain types of plants. So he's driving all around Italy trying to find this certain house with this certain trees out front, and then he finally does, and it's the house of where the murderer lives, and he discovers that there's these paintings hidden behind the walls, and the guy who got murdered during the first part of the movie is hidden behind the wall with the Christmas tree still intact. And yeah, it just, that part really slows down the movie. I will agree with you that it is boring.
Yes.
And those parts are. Yes.
What? Oh, okay. I got things, Eric. I got things.
Okay.
All right. But so anyway, we're romping around, and then just out of nowhere, it completely looks like it's out of place. We basically have an homage to Hopper's Nighthawks.
Yeah.
Basically an existential masterwork, right? And it's focusing on modern life and alienation and loneliness, figure, of isolation. All the characters are in there, but none of them are interacting with each other. I'm an art person. I think about these things, and then to throw that into this hunk of shit.
Well, maybe Dario was showing his appreciation for that painting, but also wanted to express the alienation that Marcus and Carlo feel, because Carlo's got some shit that he's working through. His repressed sexuality and the fact that he saw his mother stab his father in front of him on
what messed him up was those shoes and socks. That was a ridiculous outfit. That's what messed that kid up. And how over the top was it showing his lover? Like, okay, as soon as it opens up, like, I get it. I see what's happened, what's going on. But then had to have what looked like that drawn on, like 7-line mustache on both sides. And I'm like, get out of town.
Well, the funny thing is that his male lover was played by a female actress. So that's probably why they drew on the little mustache on.
Got to put that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So one thing, who you might agree with you a little bit in this is Joe Bob Briggs, because he did an episode on Deep Red, and he talked about how he would punch anybody who came up to him and was talking about the use of diegetic sound in Dario Argento's movies, or the use of all the kind of stuff. So I will kick your ass if he started talking about this stuff. And generally, his view of the movies are like mine. He likes them because they're crazy and weird, but he hates the fact that people have overanalyzed them to the point where they attribute so much more deep thinking into these movies when I don't think there is any.
So we had the same English teachers in high school because it was a small ass school.
Yeah.
And this particular English teacher I'm talking about everything had a double meaning, and I remember so much depends on a red wheelbarrow. Now, let's talk about the discussion of the color red and what that water represents on that and all this. And I'm just like, maybe they were outside and they saw a red wheelbarrow turned upside down and some rain on it. And they thought that's a cool ass picture. I'm going to write down some words to try to make people think of that.
Mm-hmm. Evocative imagery.
Yeah. Okay. And then this movie, okay, even though people are trying to analyze it, does the exact opposite of it because it evokes nothing but anger.
Wow, this is counterpoint on different.
But that English teacher I'm talking about. This was the guy that made me never want to read a book again in my life. Fuck that guy.
He recently passed away.
Oh, yeah. He was a dick. Can't say I'm gonna miss him.
One thing you'll notice in a lot of giallo movies is J and B Scotch. Everybody drinks that in these movies. Are you having J and B, or are you just having Scotch? I'm just
having. Actually, this is that whiskey I sent you from Ireland, the Whistler.
Yeah.
You can you can get it in the duty free in the airport. It's like $40, and it tastes like it should be $120. It's amazing. J and B. I got money. I can buy good booze.
One thing that is odd, and you will notice in a lot of Italian horror movies, is animal cruelty. They killed a poor lizard for this movie.
I know, that lizard had to get fucked up for this. That right there is a galactic unfairness, because I would have sat and watched that lizard for an hour and a half, just doing its thing, living its best lizard life, and I would have been far more entertained. No, I don't need Marlon Perkins. I don't need Steve Irwin. I don't need the Kratt brothers. And that would have been amazing. But instead, he's like, oh, you know what? Go fuck up with the little lizard just to prove to the girl that she got some issues. Horrible.
She gets slapped, gives him an evil look. So she could possibly be, the same psychotic like the killer that's running around.
Yeah, but the killer's like obviously tall. Yeah. Because we get to see the killer walking away in what looked like a rubber fucking shiny raincoat with a big old hat. You know who I thought it was from the outfit from the back? I thought Carmen Sandiego was killing people.
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Killing everybody.
She's a hack of the guy and putting her face down inside of there. And I love how all of a sudden these guys are like fucking super sleuth, Sherlock Holmes, Batman. They're just looking around and like, oh, her finger pointed there. Oh, that's so weird. Let me turn on all the hot water. And then there's no crime scene. There's nothing. Yeah. And the old lady's
Where are the police in this movie? That's another thing. Where are the police?
The house is fully engulfed in flames, and she's sitting there and she's not thinking about, let me go run off and call or yell for some help. Yes, by the way, there's a house on fire.
I drug you down. Yeah. So the other parapsychologist, Giordani, he gets killed. And this is the most famous scene, which we talked about, where the creepy doll comes out of the door opens and the weird doll starts running at him. And then it starts laughing, and then he hits it and he breaks it apart. And you see that it's got some sort of mechanical thing and its arms moving. And all of a sudden the killer hits him in the head with a fire poker and smashes his face against the fireplace, and his teeth come out like chiclets.
Straight all over, yeah.
Yeah, and then he gets stabbed. And that is the most famous scene of Deep Red, and it deservedly. So I think that the rest is kind of odd. Like it kind of ends kind of abruptly when Marcus finds the dead body in the house, and then he gets hit on the head, and he gets pulled out.
Some would say not soon enough.
And then you think that it might be Gianna, but she gets stabbed by Carlo. Carlo gets shot at by the police and then gets hooked by a truck and then gets his head bounced all over the sidewalks and then his head gets ran over.
Gets run over. I mean, I don't remember what I texted you. And you were like, where did you end off? Like, I ended off at the part where like all the foreshadowing was horrific.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Mom and him coming from a fucking mile away.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
A mile away.
Well, and then after he thinks it's Carlo, and then Marcus is like, hey, Carlo was standing outside me in the piazza, with me in the piazza being drunk, so it couldn't be him. And maybe the painting I saw wasn't a painting, it was a reflection. And if you watch it at the beginning when, the murder happens, you do see her face in the reflection of the mirror.
Because I paid fucking attention.
Yeah, if you paid attention, you see her face in the mirror. And then you see it's Carlo's crazy mom, Marta, who was going to go be put back into an insane asylum by the dad. She flips out, stabs her husband in front of Carlo, messes up Carlo. So Carlo's acting out with all sorts of weird drawings and stuff like that. And you think it's him, but no, it's not. It's Marta, who is tiny, which I don't think she would be able to bash somebody's teeth out against at all. But turns out to be her. She tries to kill Marcus, does manage to hack him a little bit. Then her necklace gets caught in the elevator, and then he turns on the elevator, and it decapitates her. The
elevator of great coincidence.
Yeah, and it decapitates her in the bright red blood, and he's finally staring into the deep red pool of blood, and you see his reflection, and the movie ends.
Read what you wrote. I know you're fucking proud of it.
De Dario Argento.
Read what you wrote. I know it. Come on, read what you wrote.
Let's stare into the blood, the deep red blood, if you will.
And then the end. And then on the next page, you had something to say, and I fixed it.
Wrong. So I really enjoy this movie. I will defend it. I can see Neil's perspective of how you probably would not like this movie, but I do enjoy it. And I included the guide to the best Italian horror movies of all time.
All things considered, listening. Okay, you get my opinion. All things considered, listening to what you have to say and all the various things that you find interesting, I don't see your fucking point of view at all. So. Yeah. Agree to disagree. We'll circle back around to that and touch base later.
Yeah, let's circle back around. I hate that kind of speak.
I had a dude I worked with that said, "I'll touch base with you." He thought it was "I'll touch basis," BASIS. I'll touch basis with you on that. I'm like, what the hell is he saying? Until eventually asked him, like, touch basis. What is that? It's an idiom. Touch basis. Touch base. It's a baseball thing. Touch base. I don't think it is. You should Google that, my man.
I had somebody say, it's a mute point. And I'm like, what? It's a mute point?
I think this is the word movie I'm on time. It's a mute point. Oh my God, so good.
Or don't make me the escape goat in this. Like there, you get on a goat and then you escape on it instead of a scapegoat. Yeah.
That just sounds like kids we grew up with. Hey, it's the scapegoat.
Don't make me the scapegoat, essay. Yeah. So according to Rotten Tomatoes, these are the top 46 best Italian horror movies. Coming in at number 1, Suspiria.
That doesn't bode well for this whole list if that is its top film.
Number 2 is The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, also Dario Argento movie. I enjoy that one. It's really good. It's probably more easy to follow, a little more traditional than this movie. Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key is number 3. The Psychic came out in 1977, is directed by Lucio Fulci. It's also known as Seven Notes in Black.
It's got a great poster. It's a cool poster.
And Quentin Tarantino re-released it under his own Rolling Thunder Pictures banner, like in the early 2000s, which I have not seen it. It's available on Tubi. A Lizard in a Woman's Skin. So a lot of these movies are either Argento or Fulci. There is a Sergio Martino in there. Deep Red is number 6. Opera's number 7, another Dario Argento classic. Black Sabbath by Mario Bava from 1963 is a pretty good movie. It's a horror anthology, and my favorite one is where the lady caretaker nurse comes to this house and she's supposed to help tend with this corpse, and the corpse won't stop smiling. And then she would like touch the corpse's face and stop it from smiling, and then the eyes keep opening and stuff like that. And finally, at the end, she dies and she has the same expression on her face as the corpse. Really, really good. Black Sabbath from 1963, one of the really good early anthology movies. Black Sunday, also Mario Bava, really, really good. That's when Barbara Steele plays this witch who gets the mask, this steel mask hammered onto her face in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and she comes back and haunts everybody. Lush black and white colors, really, really good. Bay of Blood, which I've seen recently, and Friday the 13th, part 1 and 2 really rip off a lot of the kills from Bay of Blood, early slasher from 1971. Don't Torture a Duckling, I have not seen yet. Cat of Nine Tails, I have not seen. Blood and Black Lace, I have seen, is really, really good. Tenebrae by Dario Argento is pretty good. Has one of the coolest kills where this lady gets her arm chopped off and she paints this white wall red with the blood. And it's kind of like Kill Bill when the girl got her arm cut off and she's screaming. They ripped that off from Tenebrae. The Stendhal Syndrome I have not seen. Planet of the Vampires is pretty cool thematically. It almost is exactly like Alien, where this ship comes down to this derelict planet to explore it on a short notice, and they run into vampires, not aliens. Let's go through a little faster. The next movie we're going to do is Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. It's part of the Gates of Hell trilogy with The Beyond, The Gates of Hell, and The House by the Cemetery. This one is the most famous one. I have this on a steel box DVD that I bought with collector's lobby cards and stuff in it. It is on Tubi, it is on Pluto TV, and it's on Peacock to watch for free. So can't say you can't find it. The Beyond.
So I have seen Dracula 3D.
Mm-hmm. It's fucking terrible.
It is pretty fucking terrible. And the dude directs his daughter, Asia Argento, and she's getting naked right and left in that movie. So that is just a bizarre thing for me personally.
And Demons, directed by Mario Bava's son Lamberto Bava, is actually pretty good, and it's crazy as hell. It's like these people are watching this movie, and the movie is cursed, and these zombies start coming out of the movie, and then infect everybody, and it's just fucking crazy and really weird. It's a good one. Inferno is the second of the Mother of Tears trilogy from Dario Argento. Yeah, so Cemetery Man, that's a good one. Torso, City of the Walking Dead, Trauma. Trauma is a late Dario Argento, but this guy has a cool decapitation device. He just kind of throws it around your neck, and this little pulley thing rips your head off.
Yeah, I'm thinking of as the flying guillotine.
Yeah. City of the Living Dead and House by the Cemetery. Zombie 2, which is, I have that one on Blue Underground Blu-ray. It's known as Zombie in the United States, but it was Zombie 2 in Italy, and it's supposed to be a direct sequel to Dawn of the Dead, but it's got voodoo zombies instead of regular zombies. But it's Zombie versus Shark. If you want to see a zombie and a shark fight, watch Zombie 2.
I would do anything to cleanse my palate after this movie.
The New York Ripper is one that is just insane. Came out in 1982. Slasher in Manhattan, and he talks like Donald Duck. He's like, the way he calls into the police, and he's like, it's just really weird and perverse. It's I think it's on Tubi, but if you watch this movie, you're like, I can't believe I watched this movie. But it's so bad, it's good, but also really skeevy and sleazy. The New York Ripper. Yeah. So those are some Italian horror movies you should check out or not check out or avoid.
You're good. You're good, folks.
Yeah. So spooky season continues next week with Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. And it's really good. It's available on a lot of streaming services, so check it out. It's one of the more famous Lucio Fulci movies. And I recommend it because it's just batshit crazy and gory and weird.
Yeah. I got a bone. I got a bone to pick with Dave for abandoning me for this. Because he said he enjoyed it. And I did not.
If he's on next week, we'll have to have him say, David, defend Deep Red. And then
he'll probably start off with, all right, Neil, you asshole. And then he'll kind of go from there.
That's a pretty good impersonation.
Thank you. Or like when he gets on, all right, you nerds.
Or we'll say, David, what are you thinking? He's looking at the TV watching football.
He's watching football while we're on the fucking podcast.
on the podcast.
You can see it flickering too the whole time.
You're being dialed in and paying attention, David.
He'll be typing really loud for a hot second with something he wants to chime in, and then all of a sudden someone will catch his eye, like a golden retriever watching squirrels. Just like, whoa, yeah, and then right back there he goes. Well, you got to cut the guy some slack, man. He spends most of his time out in the fucking woods. He's probably easily distracted by the magical, shiny,
by the bright lights
pictures on his wall.
Yes, by the magic box sitting on his living room. All right, I promise we'll get to some American movies in October.
It doesn't have to be an American movie; it just needs to be good.
I really like this.
This is the fucking beginning of Turkey Month for me, is what this is.
Yeah, I still like it. So
okay, that's good.
All right, well, thanks everybody.
Whispering doesn't make it better.
If you want to get a hold of us or email us your opinion of Deep Red, send it to rvspodcast222@gmail.com. We'll read your response on the air. If you want to do, go to buymeacoffee.com, go to buy us some coffee. My wife took pity on us and bought us some coffee this week. She's our secret benefactor.
there should be buy me a shot of whiskey, because if any of you like this, send us some money so I can buy some hooch to make the next movie more bearable.
We're also on Instagram and we're on Facebook. We're on Threads. We have a YouTube channel, which is basically repeating our episodes, but you can listen to it in podcast form on YouTube.
I should do some like horrible drawings, and we figure out a way to rotoscope it.
We could do that as well. And I have a retro horror movie trailers playlist, which includes the trailer for Deep Red. If you wanted to go to that on our YouTube channel, the Retro Video Store.
Skip it.
Well, thanks everybody. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks for slogging through this with us. All four of you. I appreciate you. And I'm so sorry for what we did. Have a good week.
Wow.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store podcast.